All right, I think we have a quorum. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. We are here hopefully for strategic portfolio management within the Atlassian ecosystem. If not, stick around anyway, you'll probably learn something fun. My name is Brian Dar, and I am the head of enablement for Valiantis, Safe SPC, Atlassian Certified Expert. I've got some ITIL certifications. And I'm joined by Vantakios, who is an Atlassian guru. And I don't even know if this title is right anymore, but I don't know. She does a lot of really awesome work with a lot of really awesome clients here, and also knows a lot about portfolio management. So that's why we're here today. So in this webinar, we are going to talk all about everything to do with strategic portfolio management within the Atlassian ecosystem. And this is our first time using Confluence presenter mode instead of slides. So please forgive any hiccups that we may experience. Like, bam, there we go. All right. This is a Confluence page. So in this webinar, we are going to do an overview of strategic portfolio management. We're going to do a deep dive into the various tools that will support that within the ecosystem. Specifically, we're going to look at three major ones in detail: Jira Plans, Structure and Structure Gantt, and Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise. Then we're going to look a little bit at Atlassian's flagship product, Jira Align. I say a little bit because we have a webinar entirely dedicated to that product. And so we don't want to spend too much time in this webinar doing a deep dive. But I'll talk about sort of the criterion that you'll want to meet in order to use that product versus the other ones that we are discussing. And then something new for this iteration of this webinar, we're going to talk about Jira Product Discovery as an intake tool for strategic portfolio management. If you haven't seen it yet or used it, it is really cool. And we're looking forward to showing that off today as well. Then we're going to talk about the other free webinars that you can watch if you'd like. And if you're still around, we'll tell you a little bit about why you're listening to Valiantis, a platinum solution partner with Atlassian, and about some other ways we might be able to help you get the most out of your Atlassian tooling and processes. And of course, Q&A. So continuing in presenter mode, strategic portfolio management overview. All right. What are our desired outcomes? Why do we do strategic portfolio management within Atlassian? So first of all, we want to align work to enterprise strategy. Enterprises have long-term strategy. They have teams that are working to fill short-term objectives. So sometimes there's a distortion when we don't have a connection between those. So again, we have all of our teams working in Jira, but how does that roll up to higher level initiatives, and how does that roll up to our overall enterprise strategy? We want to be able to visualize capacity versus demand. This is a huge issue for many, many companies, and we have solutions for that, luckily. We want to have clear dependency management. That is often a source of lots of delays and challenges, and also can show organizational restructuring opportunities if we have a lot of dependencies. It surfaces the need to maybe make more cross-functional teams, or maybe to change the lines of departments. We want to have predictable and prioritized delivery of value. Are we working on the most important thing right now? That's a huge question for a lot of people. Everyone wants to work hard, as far as I know, but they want to work hard on the right thing. And so with a nice SPM overall solution, you'll know that you're working on the most important items to the business. Part of that is also stakeholder and team visibility. Are we able to see what's important? Am I radiating internally and externally important milestones and progress and information on capacity, so that my fellow directors and VPs and SVPs aren't wondering what's going on over here? Fewer fire drills. It's kind of a summation of all of the above. When we're not prioritized, when we don't have good dependency management, when we are over or under capacity, we sometimes find ourselves in a fire drill. And then risk mitigation. We want to know what's coming. We want to be able to identify risks, associate that with the work items that we're trying to accomplish, and make sure that we are looking at smooth waters ahead. All right. So again, we're going to talk about a lot of tools and processes around strategic portfolio management, but I want to call out one of the harder things first, and that is implementing it. I will say that as someone that loves implementing Atlassian tools, these are really easy to set up and build. But it's not the setup that's the hard part. It's the change management piece. It's finding out what values should go in a given field, and then implementing that across potentially hundreds of teams. So we like to sum that up as people, then process, then tools. It's often not just a tool that's needed. It's actually a process change that you have to implement in order to make that work. Tools only reinforce processes, good or bad. So a great tool with a bad process will just drive you into the ditch a lot faster. And fail fast is a good mantra, but hopefully we can avoid that too. And I think it goes without saying that if you've hired the wrong people, none of the downstream will matter. Assuming that your processes are already optimized, and I'm assuming that yours are, let's talk about the tool. So if you're working with us or any other partner or yourself on implementing these tools, you'll want to focus on change management, training, alongside that tool implementation. In many cases, implementing these starts best with a small team. And you can create that lighthouse on the hill effect where everybody looks over and goes, wow, you're working so much faster, and you're reporting out and your employees are happy. What's going on over there? And can I get some of that too? So we find it's best to start with a small group, do a POC, do an MVP, a proof of concept, and then a minimum viable product, and then iterate our way up as we expand out. In many cases, implementing these tools and processes does not mean changing your team level processes. Now, I think that there are always good reasons to modify your team's processes. We're always seeking to be better. And we also like standardization because that reduces administrative overhead and it makes it easier for cross-team synergies and for people to move across teams. But it is very important to allow your teams to do what they do best with the processes and the tools that work best for them. So in general, you only need to start really standardizing, in our experience, at the Jira Epic layer or at the safe feature layer, basically the program layer. You can leave your team's workflows in place. You don't have to. You can make all the teams work on the same workflow, but oftentimes it's a lot easier to bring teams along and to elevate the tool along with their own process elevation through coaching at the same time. You can tag those Jira Epics with customers, products, etc., to provide an effective roadmap and then tie those to higher level initiatives without moving your team's collective cheese, to quote one of my favorite books. Every tool that we're going to talk about today, with the exception of Jira Align, can be done with just a few teams to start. Jira Align operates more on a roll it out in a program model than roll it out in a team model. So what are the tools? Let's talk about those. So we have tools around work management. We're not going to cover those today. You're hopefully already using them, Jira and Jira Service Management. We then have tools around portfolio management, and these are the ones that we're going to talk about a lot. Jira Plans, Structure and Structure Gantt, Big Picture. I'll also go back in and add Jira Align in here for a brief overview. We're going to talk about Jira Product Discovery for intake management, and we're going to talk about integrations to Microsoft Project as well. I know that some people are married to that style of planning, especially if you work more in the physical world. It's very easy to spin up new servers. In a few clicks, it's very hard to spin up 300 sheets of drywall. So we understand the differences and the challenges there. But let's dive into Jira Plans first. And we're going to talk about why you might want this tool, and then we're going to dive right into it and do an actual demo live. So let's hope it works. And then we're going to come back and we will talk about critical deciding factors for why you might want to use Jira Plans versus one of the other items that we're going to talk about today. So as an overview, Jira Plans is a cross-project road mapping and visualization tool with team-level capacity and limited auto-scheduling functionality. It is a really great tool, as I think you will see in the demo. It is native with Jira Cloud Premium and Jira Data Center. And when I say Jira, I mean the product formerly known as Jira Software, which is now Jira Software and Jira Work Management rolled into one, which is called Jira. So it's free if you're on Jira Cloud Premium or on Data Center. And the tool is organized primarily through something called a plan. And each plan has its own scope, and basically its own inputs from Jira. It has its own views, its own planning scenarios, its own permissions. It also includes a program board, a dependency map, and a schedule as well. But just to point out really quick, it is not a Gantt chart. Even though what you're seeing here may look like a Gantt chart, it is not a Gantt chart. So if you love Gantt charts, you're going to want to wait until the second demo we do, which is going to be structured Gantt. I like to think about Jira plans kind of like a Kanban board in Jira, in that Jira Kanban boards take data that lives in Jira projects and displays them in a useful way. So if you're a team that's gathering around to do a daily stand-up and to plan out their work, a Kanban board or maybe a Scrum board and a Scrum backlog is a really helpful planning tool to look at all of the work living in Jira. And plans is the same way. It's a really great way to surface a lot of information in Jira in a way that is meaningful for people that need to plan across many teams. And that's that. So let us dive into the tool, and that's big picture. And let's walk right through it. So what you're looking at here looks like a mess. And that's because we have a whole lot of fields that have been opened up in our scope view in this plan. But the first thing I want to point out is that we are in a plan. So everything you see here is contained within a single plan. And this plan has its own scope. That scope is defined over in plan settings. And basically here, if we go to issue sources, you can see the various projects or boards or filters that we are pulling in to plan our work here. Hop back out of there. So based on that scope, we have the scope section over here where we see issues and fields as they load. And then on the right side, if you are in the timeline view, you will see bars across weeks and months and quarters and years based on dates associated with these issues. And you can pull in all of the information that you want. So here we have target start, target end dates. We have the status of those issues. And then we have some other fields like a swag or an associated product or progress by issue count. So we can pull in lots of helpful fields. We can pull in goals from the tool formerly known as Atlas, or now just Jira goals. Those are right over here. We can, and the associated goals show up right here. We can pull in ideas from Jira Product Management, and we can filter by all of that. So we can choose to filter based on releases or teams or projects or goals or priority or things with blockers or labels. Many, many helpful things there. And again, if you don't need the timeline view, you can just go for a mega list view. And you may be asking yourself, well, I already have a list view in a Jira project. Why do I need this list view? And the reason why is because the Jira project list view is scoped to one project. This tool specifically is for cross-team planning. And again, you can come back and show your timeline over here. You can also collapse all of this, and you can pull in just about any field out of Jira that you want. I say just about, there's a couple that you can't pull in, but most of the fields that you will want are definitely going to show up right here. You can collapse this and then show the timeline view. The date behavior on the timeline view is based on dates directly encoded onto those issues. There is dependency behavior. So if I come here and I can choose to show badges or lines based on dependencies. And let me see if I can get you to a view that shows that spaghetti dependency line much better. It'll remind you of big room planning with your teams if you were a release train engineer. But yeah, so here we have all of these, spaghetti dependencies showing us in red dependencies that are out of order, and in gray dependencies that are in the correct order. What you can do with anything that you configure here is you can create a custom view. So we can color by a category of our choice. We can group by project, or we can group by idea or label or release or team. We can choose to show dependencies as badges or lines. We can choose to roll up dates from child issues or roll up dates from other information. And once we have the view that we love, with the right fields in place and the right releases highlighted on the timeline and everything, we can then come in here and we can save that view as a very specific view for our stakeholders, specifically for our stakeholders as they are concerned with the delivery of features and initiatives. And then you can share that view. So once you have the view that you like, you can come here and you can share that view in Confluence. You can share it as an image and drop it into a PowerPoint presentation if you'd like. So hopefully you're feeling the sharing power of this tool. I'm sorry it's operating so slowly right now. But yeah, you can get a preview, and then you can see all the information, the legend, and everything else you need there. And you can also choose the date range that you're going to drop into it. It is pretty amazing. Highly shareable. You can also share it as a read-only view in a link. So you could share this with anybody else that has access to see the underlying Jira data. And they won't be able to change it, but they'll be able to look through it, and they'll be able to resort and refilter and find information about that. If you would like to change the data in here, no problem. You can modify fields. And as you start to modify those fields, those changes will stack up here in the unsaved changes box. So if I want to change my my swag here to a different number, no problem. And I see those changes stack up. And then when I'm ready to decide on these changes and make them official, I can come here and I can push them back to Jira. So it'll show me who made the changes and when they were changed, and if I want to push these back and if I want to discard them. And then when I'm ready, I can click that, and then it'll update the Jira issues all at once. So what's nice is this is a sandbox planning tool. And if you need more than one scenario, no problem. You can have a number of scenarios. We're currently looking at the best case scenario, and all of its changes are being stored in a green flag. But you can also change over to the worst case scenario, and you'll see all of those changes start to stack up in red. So you can do both of your scenarios, choose the one that you want, push that, and then clear the changes from the other one, and rejoin at your next planning session. You can estimate in story points, or you can estimate in time tracking, but you can't do the same in one plan. There is no native conversion between story points, and time, but you can write an automation in the background that will do that for you. Basically, every time the story points field is updated, do a math problem and update the original estimate field. There is no critical path highlighting, but there is a dependency map that is really robust. So we can roll dependencies up to a given initiative, which is, in this instance of Jira, a layer higher than Epic. So we can see all of our underlying dependencies rolled up to initiatives, which is pretty great. And we can click in and see those links and why they are the way they are, and we can unlink them and modify them. We can group by different teams. So if I go back to rolling up to an Epic and group by team, and zoom out, we will then see different teams that have different priorities. So this is like Team Charlie down here, and this is Team Alpha, I believe, up here. I think you can see it actually better at the task level. Let's see if that shows it. Yeah, there we go. Team Alpha down there, and the other teams elsewhere. And then actually things with no teams. So we have a dependency map. We also have new recently is a program board. I love this program board. It is extremely cool. You basically take all of your sprints or all of your weeks, and it'll show you all of the work that is unplanned per team, or also unassigned to a team. And you can drag it and then assign it to the appropriate team per iteration. So we have Team Alpha, Team Beta, and Team Charlie. We have their sprints loaded in. And then you'll notice at the top of each of them, you can actually see a capacity view. So we can see that this sprint is partially loaded, and it'll turn red if you're overloaded. And you can actually come in here and you can update the capacity for that particular iteration. So that is the first view of capacity that we're seeing today, capacity versus demand. The other way to see it is actually back in the timeline view. You can create a custom view that, just like the program board a moment ago, is here, and I can show you this, basically where you group by team, and then you just turn on show capacity on the board, and it will appear in the timeline section over here. And so we get the same sprint view, and then we can see all of the work that is lined up under there. So we can get team level capacity. I do want to point out that this is team level capacity. This is not individual level capacity. Atlassian makes no, they don't hide the fact that they're all about empowering teams, not necessarily individuals in their products. And so, yeah, that's just a limitation to be aware of, but it is a very effective tool for showing team level capacity and demand. If you're used to a Gantt chart, you may enjoy seeing baselines. There are no baselines in plans, and there is no earliest start, latest start, earliest start, latest end constraints on it. But as you saw, sharing visualizations, really fantastic, really easy. We see the team level capacity resourcing behavior. Because it's not individual level capacity, you can't do any associated skills with work items to find the right person. But spoiler alert, we're going to see that later on in a different tool today. You may also have noticed this button called auto schedule. This is used for resource leveling, or I guess team leveling, I should say. But every year or so, I dive back into this auto scheduler, and I still find it too opaque and confusing to recommend to clients right now. The algorithm is just kind of confusing, and it doesn't always produce the expected results based on the inputs that I would expect. And it doesn't tell me why it made the choices it made in putting certain items into certain sprints. And so I find that a little hard. It is a good place for someone just to, shake the snow globe and see where things land. But in general, we tend to turn it off with our clients in plan settings, and just to hide it. Lastly, there is a calendar view as well. And the calendar view I find very helpful. It's much like the other calendar views that are elsewhere in Jira, but this one has a few more layering functions. We can show at the initiative layer, or we can show at the epic layer. And because we get to choose the associated dates with these with the overall plan, we can choose specific date fields to show in this calendar. And I'm sorry, it's here. If I zoom out, you'll see everything showing up correctly there. So that's calendars. What else? Let me check my notes here. All right, yeah. So back to, I think, the presentation. All right, so deciding factors. This is native with Jira Premium or Jira Data Center. It's free if you're already on that layer. It'll allow you to estimate with story points or time tracking in each plan, but only one per plan. It's great for sharing visualizations. It's got a program board. It's got a calendar. It's got team level capacity visualizations. It does not have critical path. It does not have baselines. It doesn't have earliest start, latest end. There's no cross-plan resourcing view, and it is not a Gantt chart. So the dependencies on it will not push everything out. If you move like one antecedent item, it will not push the successors out. So basically, it's a visualization tool, but a very powerful one at that. All right, so that is tool number one. We're halfway through the webinar already, so we're going to speed up the other ones by just a little bit. So structure and structure Gantt. This is a robust Gantt chart add-on for cloud and data centers. So if you love Gantt charts, this is your first tool for you today. The tool organization, the primary object is a Gantt, which is built from a structure. So in this preview over here, we see a work breakdown structure called a structure. You define what goes into that structure, and then you get a Gantt chart over here. So it's two add-ons that have to be combined in order to get this functionality. Yeah, each structure, and therefore Gantt, has its own definable scope, its own definable hierarchy outside of the Jira hierarchy. But we tend to see people mostly just using the Jira hierarchy. It has its own definable views, so you can modify all the fields that you see in it. It has its own definable scenarios. It has baselines. It has scheduling and resourcing behavior for individuals as well as teams. And it also has intra-Gantt scheduling. Think about that meaning, where you can have different items schedule based on different constraints, which is really cool. And it's got quick filters, which is nice. So let's hop into the tool. I'll show you around there just a little bit. So here we have a basic structure and our basic structure demo, as we have all of the stuff here. So you're looking at the same data that you saw over in plans a little bit ago. So we can see, just like in plans, we can see the work roll up. So we can see our stories that are rolling up to epics, that are rolling up to initiatives, and we can save different views for that. And we can show a progress field, or we can show any other field in the system if we want to. Something actually really cool about structure that you don't see in a lot of other tools is you can do custom formulas. So this really allows you to do just about anything for displaying information here. And if you want to just see the view, you can also just either push that over, or you can totally hide the Gantt as well, and then just get a complex list view over here. So we can see expected Gantt behavior over here. We can see progress showing directly in the item. We can see these progress bars roll up. If we click on these dependency handles, we can add dependencies. And you saw that little SS right there. That is a start to start. So this is where we're starting to see much more Gantt-like behavior, where we have standard finish to start, start to start, linking behavior. There's more at the bottom. Start to start, start to finish, finish to start, finish to finish are the four available. I forgot to mention earlier in plans that the linking there, again, it's not Gantt chart linking, so it's not the four styles that I just listed. It's just the basic Jira links. Usually blocks and is blocked by are the links that are used in there. Other tools call that soft links versus hard links. So date behavior. Something cool about the dates here is that the dates can be determined automatically or manually. And if it's automatic, it's going to be based on the properties of the work item itself. So the time estimate or the story point estimate, the resource assigned, that kind of information. And you can update that stuff here as well. And you can even do something when we get into individual level resourcing, where you can say, like, all right, how many people can work on this item at once? So maybe we can burn it down faster. This tool does have sandboxing, but it only has it for data center right now. So all the changes that I just made with that link, that is live in the tool. So you want to be careful about that. But if you're on data center, again, you can sandbox all day long. You can estimate in story points or time tracking or formulas. And there is automatic conversion between story points available. If we hop into our Gantt chart settings, and if we go into scheduling, you can see the hours ratio, which I know is just sheer blasphemy for pure agilists. But if you want to show story points on a timeline with human hours in place, at some point you have to decide on that conversion. Something that's really cool, though, within this Gantt, and I mentioned it earlier, is that there's this thing called a slice. And I can define a slice, let's say, based on a filter, and I could base it on a particular project. So maybe I've got one team that for them a story point is an hour, and for another team a story point is 8 hours. Well, I can create slices based on JQL queries that will change the behavior of the scheduling per team. So if you're looking to really dive in deep to really deep scheduling details, you're starting to look at this tool. There is critical path highlighting. It's actually turned on right now. There is baselines, and you can create multiple baselines in this tool, which is pretty fun. You can also drop milestones on this roadmap. So we have to choose a specific field for that milestone. It basically saves it as a milestone attached to an issue. Sharing visualizations is also pretty great. You can share, you can export. You can drop structures and Gantts onto Jira dashboards, or you can drop them into, what is that called? You can drop them into Confluence pages. So that's quite helpful. Resourcing. You can turn on the resourcing view down here, and people should start to get excited. I don't have anything assigned to any of these people right now. I apologize. We don't have particularly good data in this demo instance. But as I start to assign people through the assignee field or through the team field, I can start stacking up capacity for those individuals. The capacity is controlled through shared calendars. So you basically assign like standard working hours and time zones and days and holidays, and then you assign that to the resources. You can temporarily, oops, I didn't mean to click on that, sorry. You can temporarily reduce a particular assets or a particular resource's capacity. You can set the number of people that can work on a given item, as well as, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty detailed, I'm losing all my words right now, I apologize. It's a very detailed capacity planning tool. However, the one detail that's missing is skills. So again, in this tool, you can't say that this particular person has to be on this particular issue type or this particular issue. Although I have found in practice that is pretty hard to manage. Resource leveling. Yes, in data center only, there is a resource leveler which will shift issues based on a desired priority attribute, either rank in Jira or the priority field or estimate or something. But you have to choose the field, and then it'll smooth all of that out based on date constraints. It has many options. When you run it in Data Center, if you want to include completed items to level, if you want to include started items, if you want to include manually scheduled items. So again, this is a really attractive tool if you are particularly working in the physical world, but using Jira as your project management tool. Also, there is no cross-plan resourcing view. So it's just resources per structure. All right, that was a bit of a speed up, but deciding factors. You have slices that allow for granular behavior within a specific Gantt chart. You have team level and individual level resourcing. You have, this is out of order for my notes, but you have no skills. You have multiple baselines that you can save. You can resource level in data center only. You can do duration based on estimates, which is quite helpful. That is not something that Plans does. There are sandboxes available if you're on data center, and it's also very good for sharing visualizations across tools. All right. Hopefully you're saving up questions. There we go. Let's talk about our next tool, which is Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise. This is another one of those you really need to buy two tools in order to accomplish what you need situations. Big picture, and especially when you add in big picture enterprise, this is a multi-tool. It includes Big Gantt, which is a standalone tool if you'd rather buy that. And it also has modules for agile and program boards, for risk management, for roadmaps, for objective management, etc. Although I should say that, the Atlassian platform now also handles objectives in the shape of goals. So a lot of this functionality is being rolled into the platform natively right now. Yeah, it's got teams, it's got calendars, it's got everything you might want for a portfolio management solution as well. The primary configuration item over in plans is a plan, in structure it's a structure and a Gantt, and in big picture it's something called a box. And boxes have different box types. So box types define how boxes relate to each other. So like a box, oh gosh, where's the, oh yeah, here. We've got the examples here. So a box could be a portfolio or a program or a program increment. So now we have the concept of a time box versus a work box. It could be an iteration inside of an increment. It could be a project, a phase, an initiative. And based on those words, you should be picking up that this will handle hybrid planning. It'll support agile planning as well as traditional planning styles. If you have big picture enterprise, you have unlimited box types, unlimited scenarios, you have cross box resource views. You can rename a bunch of things that you can't in the basic tool. Yeah, so when we dive into the tool, you'll see the boxes relating to each other. Because each box has its own definable scope and hierarchy and views and scenarios, it is an ideal planning tool. And I think it's kind of like both a template and an issue type at the same time, if you want to use that mental model. Because you can create a box type and then you can generate new boxes based on that box type, but then you can configure the individual boxes. Hopefully that made sense. Yeah, so let us dive into the tool so we can see more of big picture. So this is like the big picture overview. And what we're seeing is a bunch of boxes on this. And, you know, everything rolls up to kind of like a master item. And I've got some demos in here. This is a hybrid portfolio structure. So we have a portfolio box that has children. So we have a program that rolls up to this hybrid structure, and that program has program increments and iterations. So think about it like SAFe. You know, we've got sprints and PIs and the whole program. Or we have a more traditional planning team that's also rolling up to this hybrid portfolio. So we have stages that roll up to a project, and we can put the work in those stages. And the one that I'm going to demo from has both. Oops, but I actually want to click into it. There we go. You see this live option here, which will allude to scenarios. All right. Oh no. Well, that's fun. All right, we'll have to go talk to the people that use this demo instance. Let me hide the resourcing view for a moment. And again, we're looking at something pretty similar to plans and structure right now. Issues appear over here based on the scope of the box that we're looking at, or the scope of the portfolio. And they appear over here in this view based on manually updated dates. So much like Jira plans now. So again, not really a Gantt chart in that situation. Or you can choose to have these guys auto-updated, in which case it does become a Gantt chart based on dependency links. So it's a nice hybrid choice there. It does not look at estimates when it determines duration. So just keep that in mind. You can choose scheduling mode. So you can lock it. You can do a manual schedule, or you can have top-down or bottom-up. So for example, on an epic, maybe we want it to do bottom-up. So the epic is defined by its children. And maybe otherwise we want to do top-down, where we define the epics by the initiative, for example. Dependency behavior. This tool has the most robust dependency management possible. So we have these 4, which we saw over in structure, but we also have something called soft dependencies, which is kind of cool. And then this nice little link to information about that as well. But basically, the top 4 are the standard Gantt dependencies that we are used to. The bottom one is a regular Jira dependency like blocks or is blocked by. So you can have your software teams using blocks as blocked by to coordinate with themselves, and then you can have your planners, project management, portfolio management. They can be up here doing Gantt level work at features and initiatives and portfolio epics and things like that. And they can live harmoniously in the same place. And you can choose over here which of those links you're going to see to give you a better idea. I believe, I always forget which one. Yeah, the soft types show up as dashed lines and the hard types show up as solid lines. You can also have something without a definitive start date, but a definitive end date. You can see that in multiple of these tools today as well. You have optional lag time in your dependencies. Let's see what else is great about this. You have sandboxes. You can have multiple sandboxes in Big Picture Enterprise, also in Cloud, very helpful. You can estimate based on time tracking. And there is automatic conversion between story points as well into time tracking. So let me say that again. You can estimate using time tracking, story points, and you can also automatically convert story points into time tracking. And that is configurable per box. There is critical path highlighting as well. And there's also baselines, but there's really only one baseline for the whole Gantt. And what I mean by that is each individual issue has one set of fields that defines the baseline, and that's it. So you can only have one baseline at the same time, if that makes sense. There are, just like the rest of these tools I've said today, there's no early start, late finish constraints available in this tool as well. So for that, you're going to have to go to Microsoft Project still. Sharing visualizations, I'm not such a fan of this tool. You actually need an additional third tool, which is called Big Template, to export all that information. So I find the sharing aspect a little challenging here. Resourcing. This one only does individual resource behavior down here. And again, I just don't have the right data to pull that up. But basically, you would see capacity showing up down here for the person based on the time in your timeline. And let me see if there's any old data that showed up. All right, I'll fix that for the next one. But you can do individual assignment per work items. And you've got availability managed through shared workload plans, shared holiday plans, and individual absence adjustments. You can do capacity adjustments through those shared workload plans. And this one finally has skills. So if you open up a given work item, you will be able to come over here and find the big picture skills section. It'll open up its own panel. And here you can define what kind of skill is available as this loads. This is the problem with live demos. What you should be seeing. Oh, no, there we go. It's starting to load. Just a moment. It's a good time for some water. I really believe in demoing live, but every once in a while you have challenges. There we go. Okay, so for this work item, you can add required skills. So in this instance, we have developer, project manager, and tester defined. So I could say that, all right, this one requires a developer, and then later on, when we're looking at the capacity view, we can then choose to do capacity based on that. Because we'll have people defined as those particular roles. So that's quite helpful as well. So if you need skills, if you need to plan that granularly, big picture is pretty much your only choice within all of this. And so that's kind of why we chose to go in order. It's the free and included all the way down to super granular complex. So let's talk about deciding factors for for this particular tool. It's multiple tools in one, kind of like plans. It has cross-plan resource views. It does have skilling. It has resource leveling. It's great. No, it's not great. Oof, I copied that from the wrong thing. It's not so great for sharing visualizations. Ignore that. Challenging for sharing visualizations. It has limited configuration differentiations within a box. And it requires additional add-ons for sharing. So that's a challenge. But it is a very, very granular planning tool. All right, let's talk about the other one, Jira Align. Jira Align is Atlassian's strategic portfolio management tool. It's their flagship tool, I should say. They originally acquired it many years ago, I want to say 5 years ago now, from AgileCraft. And it's basically a tool that sits on top of Jira. It runs through a connector, and it handles road mapping, OKRs, program boards, program portfolio strategy, focused views, focused dashboards. They're called rooms in the tool. It does really robust dependency management. It has, for example, like dependencies are actual workflows within the tool. So it and the workflow reflects an agreement. I, as a requesting team, create a dependency. That's step one. The dependent team accepts that dependency, that's step 2, and then the dependent team completes that dependency, that's step 3, and there's notifications associated with that. Atlassian has been slowly taking a lot of the functionality of Jira Align and putting it into the regular Jira platform, which is really exciting to see. And they've also done a great job at reskinning Jira Align to much more closely map or match to the rest of the Atlassian ecosystem. We have a webinar and a dedicated bootcamp to that I'm going to show you a link to later. So we're not going to dive too much into that right now, but if you want to watch first a free webinar on it and then an actual deep dive bootcamp, I think it's a day long, aimed at administrators and people that are really trying out the tool, we can get you into one of those. The implementation for Jira Align is pretty complex. It takes many, many months, and you do it per program. You start with a model program within a single portfolio, and then you add multiple programs to it. So compared to the rest of these tools where you can set them up per team, Jira Align is a much more long-term activity. The thing is, though, no matter what you do to Jira to support Jira Align, the configuration will also support plans and structure and big picture as well. So the cleanup process in your tool that you would need to do is never wasted. So you could start with plans, try structure, and eventually move to Jira Align if you wanted to. So that's nice. And lastly, I want to talk about Jira Product Discovery. And then we've got a small demo with that. Jira Product Discovery is it's a really great intake tool. If you haven't heard of it yet, it is well worth diving into. And it's not just for product management, although based on the name, you would think it is for doing product discovery for a product company. But basically what it is you have ideas. That's the primary object type within Jira Product Discovery. And ideas can have associated insights. So a conversation I had with somebody, something a customer told me, something my boss told me, and that ties to the ideas. They're touting the idea of honest roadmaps. So as you're prioritizing your ideas, this is disconnected from the execution that you're managing over in the rest of Jira. So we've got these ideas, and then they really support the idea of having like a 3-phase roadmap: now, next, and later. So we've definitely committed to doing the now ones. We're looking strongly at the next, and we're currently vetting them. And then the other ones, not necessarily on the immediate roadmap. And there is great visualization for stakeholders around making that obvious. And there's also external, like non-Atlassian user visualization options as well. There are calculated fields for doing different prioritization models. And you can then link your ideas over to delivery tickets in Jira, regular Jira, so that the stakeholders who see their prioritized ideas can also then see the actual execution roadmap if they want to over there. But the general idea, sorry to use the word idea so many times, but the general idea of Jira Product Discovery is to keep your stakeholders over there. They can see that roadmap, which is much more flexible. It's got fuzzy dates. And then to keep your delivery teams over in Jira and plans and structure Gantt and all of that stuff. Hopefully that makes sense. I love this model of working. It is a great tool. So let's hop into that tool really quick. So the hallmark of Jira Product Discovery is all of these different views. And you can make so many different views based on whatever you might need in your ideating phase. And this is why I love this as a portfolio intake tool. You can also connect this to Jira Service Management and have like an intake form over there, or you can give people permission to come over and just create ideas over here. Creators, or at least, to make a new idea is free. To manage those ideas and to manage the views, that is a paid license. So here is an example of a view. We are looking at ideas that have statuses and assignees, and they attached to groups, and we have a target end and a target start, target end. Also notice that these have specific dates and fuzzy quarters, which is also great because when you're planning something, you don't really know what you're going to dive into. You can have reactions, you can associate these ideas with goals, and then you can add in whatever other field you want in here too. Here's a different view. This is a timeline view, all based on ideas, but if we clicked into one of them, we can then see all of the information, what problem we're solving. We can see all of the associated insights. We can click on the delivery tab and see the associated delivery tickets that are executing against this. We can see a roll-up of delivery progress. And there's even a configuration for how you want to show that progress. Do you want to show immediate children, grandchildren? Hopefully you're getting excited about this tool. I just love it. Also, you can just drag and drop this road mapping, which is really, really helpful. You can then share this idea out. You can publish this to a private link. So you can get people not looking at the delivery side of Jira, but at this much more cleaned up roadmap focused view over here. Here's this honest roadmap that I was talking about, where we're going to do now, next, and someday to help give people a much more honest look at how we're going to do our ideas. But all these ideas are transferred across all the different views. We can have a set of inboxes. We can have a triage view. We can have a parking lot view. We can have a prioritization view where we have different prioritization inputs over here that then roll up into a final calculated field. And then we can sort by that calculated field. And then we can see everything that is connected to delivery tickets over here and see the overall delivery status. Running out of time. So hopefully you're seeing that as potentially a really great intake model where you can detach your intake from your delivery and give the right view to the right people at the right time. Okay, before we go to Q&A, I just want to point out that we have, I really got to fix this view. We have a bunch of upcoming free webinars and paid classes. You're looking at strategic portfolio management with Atlassian today. We have a free webinar moving from ServiceNow to Jira Service Management. Also today, in an hour, if you want to watch that. These are all live webinars, by the way. We have an Angular bootcamp coming up. If you're an Angular developer, a Jira Service Management bootcamp, Introduction to Jira Align, a Jira bootcamp, Confluence bootcamp, all kinds of bootcamps, free webinars, a deep dive into Atlassian's Rovo, a Q&A on Atlassian products, JSM fundamentals, so much stuff. You also have two humans here on this webinar that love talking to people about these ideas. So if you want to email Vantika or myself, you can find our emails here. You just pause the video if you're watching this later on YouTube, and QR code straight to our LinkedIns. If you want to go to valiantus-training.com, you will see you'll be able to sign up for any of these classes. You just click show more and you can either sign up or buy tickets depending on the format. hopefully we have given you a lot of ideas for what you can do with these toolings. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. We are 100 dedicated to the Atlassian cloud ecosystem. We have every possible award or specialization you could ask for. We're the #1 partner globally, and we love helping people get the most out of their Atlassian tools. We specialize in consulting, licensing, building integrations, doing managed services, training. Basically, if you need to do something with Atlassian, we can get you there. Thank you for your kind attention. And now we're going to pivot to any questions that might be out there. Let me open up the Q&A widget. I'll give you time to write some questions if you have any. And if you don't have any questions, no problem. Please feel free to reach out to us. Emails are in the chat there, or you can rewind the video and go find that information. I really do mean it. We just nerd out on this stuff, and it is so much fun to help people implement these tools within their companies. And if there's no questions, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your valuable time. We hope you found this useful, and hopefully we will be able to talk to you later through some other webinar. Thanks so much and have a good day.